Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to be with us. I know you're all very busy, and time is the most valuable commodity we have. So we appreciate you spending the next about 45 minutes with us, so you can kind of learn about one of the mistakes the user can make in your business and actually cost yourself either monetarily or even your business in general. A couple housekeeping items. If you have any questions during this presentation, please post in the Q&A, in the chat, and we'll have a Q&A section right after our live demo. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to cover how phishing is one of the top security threats to your business that antivirus, firewalls, and other security protocols may not protect you against. The shocking truth about phishing and hacking your company. And then the top ways that hackers are using phishing today to breach your business. And then right after we go through a little bit of an explanation, we're going to get into a live hacking demo with Connor. He's going to show you how easy it is to exploit it and then breach your business. So ultimately, what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to avoid being a sitting duck to cyber criminals and protect everything you've worked so hard to achieve. We did this last week with our open remote desktop presentation, and this one goes into phishing. It's normally users that get exposed the most, and it can expose your business to being hacked or breached and data loss. So what we're going to do today is we're going to offer the same free bonus we did last week. We give you a free dark web scan for your entire company. It will pull credentials, emails, if any kind of information has been leaked on the dark web for your company. We'll get into what the dark web is a little bit later in the presentation. But right now, that's what we're going to do. So stick around, stay to the end, and we'll have that as an action item. So who is Chris Burns and who is Techie Gurus? I'm an IT business strategist who specializes in developing secure, highly available, and scalable IT business systems that have allowed some of our customers to double, triple, or even quadruple their business. One of our flagship customers actually was able to go from $10 million to $60 million and expand into 2 other states without making a significant investment in IT because we did it right the first time, right at the $10 million mark. So I started Techie Gurus in 2008 to develop big business technology in a small business world. Today, we have transformed into a premier IT provider of affordable cybersecurity solutions to small and medium businesses. We have a couple of case studies. Our main vertical is manufacturing. We have done work with healthcare, financial services, other business services as well. So Jeff, they own a building products manufacturer, and we do full managed IT for them. This is a case study. I'll go through these really quickly. We don't want to take too much time because we did go over this last week. Kevin, another one. We're best in class IT company. They make heating technology. Plastics manufacturer, we bring peace of mind to them. They had some issues. We were able to come in there and take care of it and actually help the business expand. And then we also structure things with like remote solutions, so Citrix, things like that, so they can work remote. So when the pandemic hit this year, they weren't stuck with not being able to work. So why am I here? Why am I urgently informing all business owners about this? The reason is we're seeing an increased level of attacks with our customers and prospects to where it's something that we need to educate people on and let you know what it is, what phishing is, and how to protect your business against it, and like what can be really done with it. Okay, so what is phishing? It's not that. That is phishing, but that's from a couple of years ago. The phishing itself it's a fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information. It can be usernames, passwords, credit card details, any kind of personal information. It could even be just trying to get you to give up company trade secrets by disguising themselves as a trustworthy entity. So an example is sending an email or requesting a user to click a link. That link can be to download a document. It can be to go to a website and put their credentials in. Basically, at that point, they're trying to get your information so that they can then further infiltrate your business. Another common one is text messaging. One of the common vectors there is they send a text message posing as their boss, and they say, hey, look, go to CVS or whatever, buy some iTunes gift cards, scratch off the back, send me the codes, or else you're fired. And unfortunately, some people will actually do that. And then once the codes are gone, I mean, credit card companies won't even refund that because you actively went and bought it. Another one is instant messaging. They'll do the same thing. It could be Skype, could be Teams, could be even Slack. They might send a message. They might have, maybe they stole credentials for somebody that you know. They send you a link, you click on it, you download something like a document or some sort of executable that then runs and leads to you getting breached. All right, so let's look at an example. This is an example phishing email. I got this a couple days ago, so June 24th. So one thing that you want to keep in mind when you look at this is who is the sender. So sometimes you won't be able to see the sender, but in this case, I can see the sender. I don't know who Bruce is. I didn't ask for a document. I have no idea who he is. If you look at the document type that was sent, down here it said down in the email it says it's a PDF. Well, it's really not. It's an HTML file, and what that is that's going to open up in Chrome. It's going to look like a website. It's probably going to try to get me to put in my Office 365 credentials, so they can try to steal my identity. It won't work in my case because I do have multi-factor authentication turned on, but this is an example of something that somebody's doing. We have another example. I didn't highlight this one, unfortunately, but they're asking you they're saying, hey, look, I shared a document with you. You need to click on this, open it, either give me your information or we're gonna deliver something to you that we're gonna be able to hack your computer. Again, if you look at from the from file, this one, or the from field, this does show an email address that clearly nobody should ever click on. One, it's got a tilde over the E, so that's kind of weird. But then Darren is the actual sender. They're using his different name as well. And then another one, this is a final example. Somebody sent me an e-file, allegedly. It's a OneDrive attachment. This isn't what a OneDrive email looks like. So that's a first flag for me. But what it is, again, you look at the email, who sent it, and I have no idea who these people are. So good practice here is to, if you don't know who sent you an email, obviously don't click on it, don't do anything, and actually send this to like either internal IT, or if you have an IT provider, submit that to them and let them help you with it to make sure it's a legitimate email. Or in the worst case, pick up the phone and call the person who sent it to you if it is somebody that you do know. So let's kind of go over the types of phishing, right? There's two main types. There's one that's just phishing, that it's a spray and pray method. What they're doing is they're just trying to send out a bunch of emails. They automate it, they might send it to everybody in the company. They might look up a company name, generate a bunch of usernames, just send it to everybody in the company, or even an entire, maybe they just stole a list of Facebook users, stuff like that. They send the emails out. What they're trying to do is get people to click. They don't care who it is. They're just trying to get them to click. If we go to spear phishing, that's a targeted attack. They are trying to infiltrate a specific company. So this kind of go back to what I said. They might go to LinkedIn. They might find all of your people that have registered on LinkedIn, figure out like what your email format is, and then they might just send emails to everybody in the company trying to get somebody to click on an email and give them credentials or get them to download something. So again, these are all user-based attacks. So really the key here is that the user is making a decision. So one of the newer ways of doing phishing that it's kind of growing, it's not really there yet, but it's growing, is social media. So if you have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I'm assuming TikTok will be on there as well, LinkedIn, they'll send you a message and they're going to put a link in there. They're going to try to get you to click on it. It could be a direct message. I guess they could do a post if they really wanted to, but they're going to send you something like that. Or they'll send you like, hey, your password needs to be reset. They'll want you to click on it. And again, download something like a document or a file, or go to a website and then log in as that person. Let's go to email. Email is the most common way the phishing happens. So if we look at email, these are the top 10 general email subjects that people will get in their email right now. So if you look at number two is kind of important because right now with the coronavirus going on, the CDC health alert networks, those are the ones that are getting people to click the most. Ones that reference something like COVID-19 or coronavirus, things like that, people are clicking on a lot. And then obviously the password check required immediately. So that might say, hey, your password needs to be reset. Somebody got into your account. And a lot of times people won't even think twice. They'll click on the link. And if they mouse over the link, it would show them that they're going to a bad website, but they don't know that. So again, these are the types of emails that people are getting. And now let's go to like where the common attacks are in the wild. So we go back to COVID-19. It might be a document that somebody sends from SharePoint or OneDrive that says COVID-19 in it. It could be a rescheduled meeting saying COVID-19, confidential information, things like that. VPN, work from home. these are what people are trying to trick you into doing, and they'll definitely use bigger names. So when you see something from Microsoft, it'll say Office 365. It could say Google, it could say Gmail, Amazon. If you're doing shipping stuff, it could be FedEx, UPS, that you have a package. Those are common ways that they're getting users to click on them. So what does the data say about phishing? So 94% of all malware being something that can attack your computer or your business, it's delivered by email. Phishing attacks account for more than 80% of reported security events. So when they say reported, they mean people have actually admitted to this, but the numbers are actually growing significantly. Phishing gets a user to do something. When somebody clicks on a message, they are bypassing most security. So everybody thinks a firewall, antivirus, things like that are always going to protect you. And the reality is they're not. If a user clicks on something, a lot of times they can bypass those security protocols. 71% of breaches are financially motivated. Today, ransomware is huge. Xerox got hit the other day. LG got hit last week. Honda got hit a couple weeks ago. They are trying to get into these businesses or even small businesses and get money. That's their main focus, is to get money. Right now, $17,700 is lost every minute due to phishing attacks. That's normally just ransomware. Again, they download something, they either give credentials or access into the business, and then the hacker or attacker will ransom the business off. They'll encrypt all your files, and then they'll send you a ransom request. And 60% of those breaches could be avoided by just patching. So when you don't patch Windows properly and you don't track it, or you don't patch applications that you use, like line of business applications like QuickBooks or an ERP, a lot of times those vulnerabilities are what are exploited in a phishing attempt to get into your business. So even if somebody clicks on something, they might give them access. Well, if they find another vulnerability with just credentials, they might be able to exploit that even further. A good one that just came out was Palo Alto. All their firewalls through certain versions are allowing hackers to get in without even authenticating. They can just get right into enterprise businesses without even having authentication protocols to get in. So that means no username, password, they're just in. So let's look at like what's a realistic expectation of fines. So most manufacturing, unless you're doing work with like the DoD or the government in general, you're probably not going to get fined for a breach. It depends on what it is. But in HIPAA medical world, it's a very real thing. So they make it really easy to see what the fines are. So if you didn't know, it's usually $100 for minimum for the fine per record. Typical records, there's 2,500 records per provider or doctor. So a typical medical practice can easily have 3 to 10,000 records. If you get fined for every one of those, you can do the math. It's a significant amount of money. But it goes also into PCI compliance for credit cards and financial situations. It can go into public compliancy, Sarbanes-Oxley, things like that, where you can reach fines. So let's circle back a little bit and let's go to what is the dark web. So the dark web is, it's a separate hidden part of the World Wide Web. You can't get to it with like Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer or even Edge. It's a secret place where they use a special browser, a special way to get into it, where cyber criminals can operate. And why are they there? They're there to do it anonymously. They're there to sell information. And the worst part is it's about 550 times larger than the World Wide Web that we deal with every day. So they will sell social security numbers, credit cards, debit card information, bank account information, company trade secrets, all the things that they could possibly steal that are up for sale. All right. So what happens if you fall attack to one of these? All right. It really depends on how bad of an attack it is. You're going to be blamed. If it's really serious and you're a public-facing company or you're compliance-driven, people are going to blame you, and they're not going to be sympathetic about it. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe they're going to call you irresponsible. They're going to call you stupid. You're not, but maybe they will because they don't see it that way. They said, why would you get hacked? And then they're going to ask the question, okay, what were you doing to avoid this? What were you doing in your business to avoid being breached like this? Did you do anything to prevent it? And then you're probably gonna have to notify clients because it depends on what kind of information is stolen. Again, compliance driven is a little different, but if you got like all of your employee information stolen and you're a big enough company, you're gonna have to report that. But you're also gonna have to notify all of your employees that maybe their social security numbers were stolen. maybe their bank information, things like that that you have to report. And then what happens if your competitors get news of that? Well, they're going to use it against you in sales. They're going to say, well, do you really want to do business with a company that was just hacked? And take it further, the cost to restore the data. So now you have to pay to restore the data. You have to pay for overtime to restore the data, and now your reputation is damaged. So reputation can take years to recover from. That's if the business doesn't go out of business in the meantime. So with that, let's switch this over to Connor. Connor's going to take us through a live demo. He's going to show you just how easy it is for a phishing attack to work, but then also like what the dangers are of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to take over here sharing my screen. Just give me one moment. Perfect. Share. Awesome. All right, guys. Yep. So my name is Connor, and you are correct. You cannot see me right now, but I can promise you that by the end of this video, or by the end of this little live demo that we got going on here, you will be seeing me. So before we begin on this phishing demo, I just wanted to clarify some things. Anytime that you see this screen that we are looking at right now, this is the terminal. This is the attacker's perspective. This is something that normally you would never see. This is and again, this is the attacker's perspective. And then from here, this should look a lot more familiar. This is Windows 10, something that most of you are hopefully using, hopefully not Windows 7. So anyways, without further ado, we're going to get into phishing. So for this particular example, we're talking about phishing emails. So we're going to, of course, go to our email, and we're going to assume that we are maybe like an HR manager, or somebody that takes a look at resumes. And this email could come in the form of almost anything. This it doesn't have to be a resume. It doesn't have to be anything like that. So for example, this is assuming that maybe we have some job listings out there and we're looking for like a bookkeeper position. So somebody submitted their resume. So of course we're expecting emails from people outside of our company, but in reality these phishing emails, they could be from anybody. They could be even from someone that appears to be someone in your organization, but is actually someone else. But for this particular example, we say, hey, okay, we're expecting resumes. They sent us a resume, so okay, we're going to go ahead and click on it, take a look at their resume, see if they're a good candidate. Let's see, it says, this document's protected, open it in Microsoft Office. We can't preview it. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and, normally you would just say, okay, well, I'll just open it. So we're going to go ahead and open it, give it some time. And then, okay, still some issues. It says, please click enable editing and enable content. Okay, well, we have enable content, so let's take a look, and it says incorrect word version, cannot unprotect this document. So as the user, I'm not really too sure what this means. I'm gonna click OK. It's kind of hanging up here. But if we pop on over to the attacker's perspective, we see that this text right here, interpreter session 1 has opened. The attack has completed. The attacker is now in that computer. They have access to your computer, and it happened that quickly with just that one simple opening of a Word document. So this is still hanging up. I'm like, man, this resume was giving me issues. Maybe I really wanted to see this resume. Maybe I'm going to, send this over to somebody else within the company. Say, hey, can you take a look at this? My Word is giving me some issues. If not, no worries. Or maybe you say, okay, well, I just can't look at their resume. Well, it doesn't matter, because like I said, the damage is done here. And we're going to take a closer look at, now that since the attacker is in your computer, what they can do from there. So we're going to go ahead and go full screen here, and we are going to interact with the computer that we just got into. And that's one of the things that I want to stress, is kind of like the hypervigilance that you need in order to look at your emails, because it's something that all of us have. We check all the time. We're filtering the good ones from the bad ones, and all it takes is one mistake for an attacker to get in within your computer and then further into your organization. So what are some of the things that an attacker can do once we're in here? Well, one of the things that they can do is they can take screenshots of your desktop. Let's see if that went through here. So if you remember, we were looking at our email just a little while ago, and look at that. We have a full screenshot of the user's desktop. And if we pop on over Here, give me 1 second. If we pop on over back to our users thing, we didn't get a notification for that. You know, there would be no way for us to know that somebody is currently monitoring our computer and looking at what we are looking at. So obviously, this being able to take a screenshot of your computer, this is terrible because they can see anything that they're doing. And from the attacker's perspective, again, you know, I can have this take a screenshot maybe like once every 5 seconds, once a second. You know, I can take as many screenshots as I want, and you as the user, you have no idea. So there's a couple other things that we can do as well, and that is we have access to all of your files. So we are going to go to a better example here. One moment. And okay, so we're in John's user folder right now, and I'm trying to find, as an attacker, something that's worthwhile. A lot of this looks like junk, but I see right here where there's a folder called personal files, and I say to myself, okay, well, you know, maybe that sounds pretty interesting. And you know, that folder could be anything depending on whichever user clicked on this email. It could be QuickBooks information, it could be financial information, and you know, for this particular user that clicked on this, you know, we have all sorts of things. We have an employee roster that could be useful. We have some offsite passwords. I'm an attacker. I would love to see some of that. But for you as the user, this is terrible. An attacker has access to any of your files, and they can just take them. They can just straight up type out a download command right here, and they can just download them. And depending on the content that's within your computer, if we bring up the file manager here again, this could lead to some compromising situations depending on the content that you have on your computer. And you know, maybe it's not just an embarrassing photo, but maybe it's something that's very serious. So we are going to go ahead and say, okay, well, this is obviously terrible. They can take screenshots of my computer. They can access my files. Surely it can't get worse than this. And that is when I unfortunately have to inform you that yes, it gets much worse. We can perform what is called keylogging, which we will take a look at in just a second after I type this command. And what keylogging does is everything that you type into your keyboard, I am going to have access to and be able to view. So if we pop on over to our users, okay, let's just say we're going about our day, no big deal. Maybe, you know, we got to go log into QuickBooks. Okay, so we go into QuickBooks. We have QuickBooks Online. Let's go ahead and log in there. Let it come up. Okay, we're just, you know, going about our normal day. You know, okay, log in. Okay, so John Doe, you know, at email.com. Perfect. We're going to type in our super secret password. Awesome, right? Just going about your day, you know, nothing, you would have no reason to suspect anything. But when we pop over to the attacker's perspective again, and we, you know, maybe let this run all day, and we go key scan dump, everything that I just typed just showed up. So we have our username that we just typed in here at email.com, and then when we started typing in our password, our super secret password. So now they have everything that you type, which is obviously terrible. Whether you're sending emails, they have everything that you type, they have that. Whether you're logging into maybe your personal accounts at work, so your personal email, you know, QuickBooks information, just your normal email, anything that you type, an attacker has. And that is obviously terrible, and something that, you know, would be detrimental to any business, because a lot of data would be leaked and a lot of personal information would be leaked. So surely it can't get too much worse, right? And again, it does. So as an attacker, I can see if maybe there's advice connected to it, and I see, oh hey, there's a webcam, so that's kind of cool. And by kind of cool, I mean from the attacker's perspective, it's cool. For you, this is about to get very invasive, and you know, I can type in a command that's similar to the screenshot command. Similar to the screenshot command. We'll take a photo, but instead this time it's not of my screen. It is through my webcam, and there I am. Caught me in a very fantastic moment there, mid-blink too. That's great. So yeah, it can take screenshots of through your webcam. So again, this is terrible, and we don't want this to be happening. And this just got a whole lot more invasive because anything that is just near your computer now, even in the physical room that's not even on your computer, an attacker has access to. And this can just go one step further. And maybe I don't want to just take, maybe I just don't want to take photos. Maybe I just want a constant live stream. So we are going to open that up. And something an attacker could have all day, hello, by the way, is this running for the whole day. And they can dump this to a file later on, so they don't have to be monitoring it live. And anything that is in the room, anything that it's a laptop and you're bringing it around, they see everything. And again, this is all without your knowledge. Depending on how some attackers do this, you won't even have like the light on your webcam show up showing that it's recording, which is obviously terrible. And we're going to go ahead and close out of that real quick, and we're going to Control-C that. So obviously, this is all terrible, very, very bad. But so not only do we have access to this one computer, but now, attackers are going to try to get into some other computers, not that they have control over yours. Maybe they collect photos of you over the course of several weeks or several months. Same thing with passwords and the things that you type. One of the other things that we showed earlier was that we could download files. Well, something else that we can do is we can also upload files. And what's going to happen is an attacker is going to go in and try to infect as much computers, as many computers rather, as they can. I'm trying to type this out here. And they're going to infect as many computers as they can. And then what's the worst thing that can happen to a business right now outside of an information leak? Well, a business completely halting in the matter of seconds to minutes, and that is through ransomware. So we are going to type out this this command where a user, where we upload a piece of ransomware and see what it looks like from the user's perspective. So we're going to put it on the desktop, although as an attacker, I'd probably put it somewhere a little bit sneakier. Okay, and got it. We are going to go ahead and run that. So we're going to type out this command. Okay. It says process created. Okay, let's pop on over to the user and see what's going on over here. And this is probably the worst case scenario that could happen for your business. If the constant leak of personal information wasn't enough, if credential leaking, files, and then getting even more invasive, photos from a webcam or video. Now, this is the worst case scenario for a business. You're hit with ransomware, so you are in the ultimate lose-lose situation. So not only do you have to hope that they can get your data back because it's all encrypted, not only can you hope that they get that information back, you also are stuck in a spot where if you pay the ransom, you hope that they can get you your information back, but you also hope that they don't go ahead and sell that information online. If you say, hey, we have backups, we'll just restore from backups, well, now these people that stole your information, they're going to sell that data online, and this is the worst case scenario. And before I shift things back over to Chris, a couple more things that I wanted to hit on is, even though we showed like the invasiveness of the webcam, it doesn't even stop then. If you have a microphone attached to your computer, that is something that can be turned on even more in an incognito fashion, where anything that you say around your computer is now being monitored and sent to a bad guy to either use against you or used as information to expand elsewhere. And think about all the things that you say day to day, just in the office or when you're by yourself, or if you pick up a phone call and you're near your computer, what kind of information an attacker could have. So before I hand it over to Chris, I just wanted to leave you with some questions that you should probably ask yourself leading up to, like, if you're suspicious of an email, some things that maybe could build your confidence, and some of the things that I want you to ask yourself, are you familiar with the sender? Were you expecting the email? Is this an email that they kind of normally send you, or is it something odd, like someone from sales is asking you for your social security number? That doesn't normally happen. Does it ask you to click any links, open any attachments, or send any personal information? These are all questions you should be asking yourself when you receive an email and you you don't feel right about it. Something doesn't feel right about it. And as Chris mentioned earlier, if it's sent from someone that you know, but it's something unusual, it doesn't hurt to pick up the phone and just call them and be like, hey, did you send this? Because it's much less embarrassing to pick up the phone, ask someone, hey, did you send this, than it is for you to be the reason that your company has completely halted overnight, or alternatively have all those personal images and videos of you in front of your computer leaked online. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over back to Chris.
All right. Thanks, Connor. Appreciate that. Thanks for scaring everybody, by the way.
Yeah, man,
right.
it's scary stuff, man. Just one
Yeah.
simple click, one mistake on an email, and it's all over.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. All right. We're going to switch it to questions. Jenna, do we get any questions?
Yep. So I have a couple here, Chris. The first
Sure.
one, after Connor had showed the webcam and talked about the microphone, is there anything we can do to protect ourselves or protect our webcam from that, kind of lessening the chances of that happening?
Yeah, from a webcam perspective, you could cover it. It doesn't stop the microphone part, but you could have a webcam cover when you're not in use. They're pretty cheap. A lot of times, if you go to a trade show, well, not right now anyway, you can get the webcam covers. A lot of people are just throwing them out as swag, but you can get them at like Micro Center or Best Buy. That would at least help from that perspective, from blocking the webcam from being shown when you don't want it to be.
Okay, awesome. Also, another question we have is, what are the easiest practices we can do to teach our employees on how to spot a phishing email?
The easiest way is just to make sure that there's a culture that they can ask questions. So if they get an email that looks suspicious, or if it's from somebody like we talked about before, they don't know who it is, or is somebody they know but it just doesn't look right, is to be okay to ask questions. If it's internal IT, be able to go to them and say, hey, look, I got this email. Can you look at it? Can you make sure that, this is valid? Or again, pick up the phone, call the person. If it's somebody you know, say, did you send this to me? And if their answer is no, they may want to look at their own system because they could have been compromised and somebody might be sending out emails them, or it was sent from a fake email that is made to masquerade as them. And then there's some tools and things that we'll talk about here in a second that you really need to put in the business to make sure that you can detect this sort of stuff.
Okay. And then just two more questions.
Sure.
Would you be available, like if someone thought they had a phishing email, if they sent it over to you to kind of look at and review before they went ahead and opened it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't bombard us with like 5,000 emails. But yeah, we encourage our customers to do this. Like if they have a question, like literally if it's a questionable email, please send it to us. Usually opens a ticket for them. We go through it, we look at it, and we make sure that it's valid. Anybody on the call, if you have a suspicious email, we'll have an email address at the end. You can send it in. We'll look at it for you just to see. Yeah, we'd rather you not get ransomware. That's our goal here, is to educate people and not get hit with that. So.
Okay, and then my last question is, how can I protect myself even more so?
Unplug your computer from the internet. That works too, but educate yourself. Again, just don't be paranoid, but be suspicious about certain things. There's a lot of tools out there. Antivirus, obviously, make sure that that's up to date is kind of important. But there's some other things we'll talk about here in a second that are more than just antivirus. Like it depends on the size of the business too. If you're a larger business, it's a little bit easier to afford the things that you need to do, from maybe having humans looking at security events that are going on in your business. But if you're a solopreneur or like it's a really small business, a lot of times it's just looking at talking to an IT provider or an expert and seeing what kind of tools maybe that you can implement in your business that can help you. Education being number one. If you could stop your users from clicking on things that they shouldn't be, that's the goal. And user education actually is pretty affordable for any size business. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for all your information.
Thanks. All right. So let's talk about how to protect yourself. So obviously for us, like the first thing you should do is talk to an expert. If you have internal IT, some security is not really handled by internal IT, even though people assume it is. You really need to talk to somebody who does cybersecurity as a career. It could be a business. It can be some sort of security provider. Talk to them. Have them do a threat assessment and say, look, where are our threats in our business? Where are the attack vectors that we can get hit on the worst? And how do we protect against those? The second is implement continuous cybersecurity user education. We can't stress this enough. Phishing itself is always a user interaction. So the more you train the users, the more the culture is that they can ask questions, they can go through training sessions, they get reminded of it constantly, the safer you are. And you really should implement some sort of advanced email detection and prevention system. Anti-phishing is something that is off by default in a lot of email systems, so you have to configure it. So you have to have somebody go in there that's an expert that can configure it for you. But then there's always a tuning factor to it. So you're gonna have to tune this over time. It's not just a set it and forget it mentality. It's we set it, we see how the business is. Are we blocking too many legitimate emails? Are we not blocking enough? And then you have to kind of tune that for your business. Every business is different, so any email communication is different, so you have to make sure to take care of that. And then finally, you have to get some sort of advanced threat detection and prevention system built in. The hardest part about this is if you don't have a system in place that you can detect that an attacker is in a machine or doing something that, like, trying to access other machines, you've already lost. Because if you don't know that they're there, there's nothing you can do to prevent it, to react to it, to try to stop them. So they could be in there for months. They can be in there for, weeks. They can be there for years if it's really bad enough. The Honda breach is one where there's rumors that Honda was breached 3 years ago. They're rumors, but if that's true, they didn't know it for more than 3 years. So having a system in place where you can detect those sort of threats is going to be the critical thing. That isn't normally affordable for really super small businesses, but for small businesses starting at maybe like 10 people, it's actually kind of affordable to take care of and something that brings peace of mind to the business owner. So on that note, what I want to say is thanks for being here, but we want to give you a dark web scan. So what we want to do is run your email domain through our dark web scan. And what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, who in your company's credentials have been exposed? Maybe their passwords might be out there. They may not be. It depends on what level of details out there, but we want to give that to you. It won't be full passwords. It'll be obfuscated ones, but you will be able to see part of it and kind of use that as a stepping stone to say, okay, how bad is it? How much of our data is really out there? And if it's not very much, you've done a pretty decent job, but there's things that you can do to improve. And if it's really bad, well, there's definitely things you can do to improve. And we can help you, or some sort of expert can help you. It doesn't matter. We're just here to educate. So to do this, what we want to do is send an email to info@techiegurus.com. Put the subject line in as phishing. That's with an F, because we don't want to trigger our anti-phishing policy to go into effect. If you start typing phishing with PH, it'll probably trigger that. And then what's going to happen is one of our team members is going to follow up with you. So if you have any questions that weren't answered in this webinar, or if it's something that maybe is just a side note, or you want to go into a deeper conversation, we can absolutely do that. So the first step is to send the email, and then once we follow up with you, we'll see where you're at, and then we'll see if we need to go into a deeper conversation. So on behalf of my entire team, Connor, Jen, and Jenna, they're on this webinar as well. We'd like to thank you for spending time with us. We hope you have a great rest of the day. We also hope you have a happy and safe 4th of July.